Welcome back to our event, everyone. So glad to have you. This is a recording, an interview that I have wanted to do for some time. And we're going to talk today about the Assembly of States. And when I say the Assembly of States, I'm talking about an organization that has chapters in every state in this country. Now, the person I have with me today is the state coordinator for the state of Florida. His name is Ralph Moore. And it just so happens that I'm pretty sure that Florida has the most amount of people involved in this. It's certainly one of the most, if not the most, and a very active chapter and a very successful chapter and making lots of progress. So you're going to learn today what the Assembly of States is, how it got started, and what our goal is, and what I think profound impact that this organization can have on our country and restoring our republic to what it should be, back to common law, back to the law of the land, which Ralph is going to explain. So please welcome Mr. Ralph Moore, State Coordinator of the Assembly of States of Florida. Ralph, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. It is a great opportunity to be here. And I wake up every day saying, I thank my Lord that I am an American and alive and able to live to fight another day. And that's basically what we're doing. And I was originally born on Harrison County in West Virginia. And that's why I have my shirt on, West
Virginia.
So, my nationality never changes, even though I'm living on Florida. So I was born a West Virginia national in Harrison County. Actually, a 13th descendant of John Price, who was an ancient planter who survived the Jamestown massacre. And
wow.
Great-grandmother's cousin was Thomas Jackson. People call him Stonewall.
Really?
So, yes. So some history there, and so much information, and just learning and being around the people that I've been able to meet on Florida. It's really edifying, and getting to know people, because we all realize something happened and our government doesn't seem to be working like it should. And it comes in kind of like threes sometimes. We know there's 3 stripes on the school bus, and we see them every day, drive by them, look at the 3 stripes. But what are they for? You ask the people on the street, why do they have 3 stripes on that school bus? Well, there's a reason for it. And actually goes to the first stripe is where the floor is, second stripe is where the bottom of the seat is, third stripe, top of the seat. So that helps first responders when if there's ever an incident, they know exactly what area to focus on. But going back to the 3s, a lot of people don't realize there's 3 main types of people on America. There's 3 constitutions, 3 jurisdictions, and actually 3 dictionaries that goes behind each one of them. And what happened in one of the main places to start at when I explain some of the things that happened was when Congress assembled right at the Civil War. They walked out. So that session didn't have enough quorum to close that session of Congress. So technically, it's still open. And that's one of the main goals of the Assembly, is to repopulate that original Continental Congress that's still in session. And there's just not enough people to repopulate it.
Now, was that 1860 or 1861?
That was 1861 they walked out. I think it was something I don't have the date in front of me.
Okay, that's okay, but it was 1861 when the original republic that was put in place in 1788, right, with that constitution. Um, that was the republic that it stopped. It didn't end, but it just stopped being populated as of 1860.
Right. It was
61.
1787 Constitution is what they were working on. And that
Right.
was a contract with the people on the states.
Right.
And that's one thing we don't realize is that a constitution is a contract.
Mhm.
Some say it's a debt instrument also. And the reason we created it was to secure our natural and unalienable rights.
Right.
And as we populate each state, the states can't just automatically go start getting groups of people and joining an assembly. You have to be an American. And it's a real difficult concept for many people is to think that I was born here, I've lived here, I've worked here, and I'm not an American. There's three different classes of people. There's more than that, but three main different classes. You have your American, then you have a U.S. citizen, and then a citizen of the United States. And that goes back to the original constitutions. So the original one was original jurisdiction government, federal constitution. Then you had the municipal constitution. That's people in Congress that we think is our government. And they're actually a privately owned foreign corporation providing governmental services.
And that was 1870, correct?
That was when that one occurred. That was probably 1868. And
Okay.
because when Congress walked out, Lincoln didn't have a government.
Right.
No. So that's where we get the very first executive order, because he couldn't hold the actual power holder office of the president. So he had to do something and get control. So that's when he did the first executive order, the Lever Code.
Right.
And that's where actually the military dictatorship occurred.
That was basically military rule at that point until that 1868 when that particular corporate constitution came into play, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you said when you say municipal, you're talking about the London bar, I guess you would call it the City of London.
Well, that would be more in line with the territorial,
Okay.
which are military corporations. Okay. And then municipal goes to the Vatican, all the way to the Pontiff, which is the business side of the Vatican. They have the religion side and then a business side.
Right.
Now they have all the air jurisdiction contracts.
Right.
The territorial. So he appointed the Queen to take control of the territorial, which controls our really territorial military side. It's really confusing the way things were interwoven and tangled up. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like now that the American people were no longer part of the government, the governmental service providers just went haywire. And a lot of times, one way to look at it is when a bill goes before Congress, who writes that bill? The people didn't order anything. And actually, that's what you do. You order something, you get a bill for it, and then you pay for it. So now Congress, they write the bill for you. They represent you. And then they say, okay, well, now you need to pay for it. I didn't place an order. So who's placing these orders to have different actions or different other agencies perform services? There was only 19 enumerated services that was part of the original contract. But that gets a little bit beyond what our purpose is as the American States Assembly. We're here because the head of the state called every state to assemble. And the only people that could assemble was people who had standing, status, and jurisdiction. So we had to correct that mistake and say, hey, I'm an American. I'm not a US citizen or a citizen of the United States. So if you have proper standing, we can stand as a man on the land on Florida. And that's what I did. I raised my hand. I did the political correction process, and I returned home to the land and soil. So now I'm a man standing on the land, and I can populate the actual original government jurisdiction. So the job set before us, we hear a lot of people talk about restoring the republic and finish the reconstruction. But the only people that can do that is Americans. You have to have proper standing, status, and jurisdiction. Otherwise, they consider that insurrection. So if I'm a US citizen doing the job as an American assembly, that would be considered insurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't be a dual citizen serving as a US citizen and act like I'm an American.
Right.
It's really confusing, but we were never told that. Our parents were never told that. And we call that an unlawful conversion. It's based on fraud and deceit, how they converted us from an American into a US citizen or citizen of the United States. And how that occurred, they used the birth certificates and registered us. So if you were born on the land and soil, you were born an American. And then usually about 10 days later, they registered that name and created another corporation. So now you're part of you're a US citizen. And then the municipal side got into play and created another entity based on that and turned you into a citizen of the United States.
All right, so let's back up a minute, okay? Because what I'm going to do is play the role of somebody who doesn't know any of this and see if I can figure out what you just said. So first of all, I think we have to go back to when US citizenship was created, because as I understand it, there was no US citizenship until the 14th Amendment, which was somewhere right around 1867, correct? Right after the Civil War, which created something called a US citizen. There never was such a thing until that time, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And when we think about that 14th Amendment, we have to think about which constitution that fell under. What were they amended? And they used the territorial constitution. And actually what they did, we don't realize that the Civil War, a lot of people think is about slavery. Well, in fact, it really was, because what happened, they converted private slave ownership. So no longer can an individual own another person, converted us everybody into a public slave. And that's like, how did that happen? And that's really basically what the 14th Amendment did.
Right.
It was never ratified by all the states. And we have the evidence supporting that. But in addition to that, it was actually a bylaw to that corporate policy,
Right.
which is called a constitution. So it had nothing to do with the actual living people on the land and soil. It only had something to do with corporations.
Right. So what they did then was they basically tricked over time. They tricked us or deceived us, or yeah, pretty much deceived us into becoming US citizens. And at first, the first people to become US citizens were all the freed slaves, correct? So,
And it,
right. So all automatically, all the free slaves were put into this US citizenship category. All the rest of us at that time, all the people that were around that time that were born in the individual states, were citizens of their state, correct?
right. We would say state citizens.
State citizens.
Right.
And American nationals, but state citizens.
Right.
Right. And so they were free, sovereign individuals born on the land in their state. Now started a process over the decades of converting all of us to US citizenship, right?
Yeah.
Over time. And so now we have this thing called US citizenship that we all are, and that is basically we're employees of a corporation, and under the control of that corporation, that territorial corporation that was created in 1868, somewhere in there, correct? And controlled by the Vatican.
Right. Yeah. And that's when they created different names. You could look at the naming styles. You'll see a U.S. Constitution, United States Constitution, the Constitution for the United States.
Right.
And it looks like a play on words, but anytime in the commercial world, if you change the style of the name of the corporation, it actually changes it into a new entity.
Right.
And as we learn about it, we learn about the assemblies and what they are. And one of the first assemblies that was ever created is the family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that's different about the United States assemblies. We're bottoms up rather than top down government, because the first assembly, the family, and it grows within the community, and it builds upon the community, and they create counties, townships, and then from the counties, they work together and create each assembly within each county that mirrors the state assembly. So that's how we self-govern. Each family really self-govern. And so you have to look at, how is my family self-governing? Do I have other corporations telling my family what to do and restricting our actions, changing our behavior, the way we respond to different things, and actually committing trespass on our natural and unalienable rights? That's one idea that try to get across to people. We, as an American, we don't have constitutional rights. We have natural and unalienable rights. So the people created the Constitution to secure those.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it was hijacked, and the civil rights is actually Roman law. So that's not what America was founded on, Roman law, but that's one of the jurisdictions that came into play. And it's another point, one of the three things when we start learning about law, but we can break down law as an acronym into the three different jurisdictions: land, air, and water. And that's a really important concept to help us understand and realize what Constitution we're looking at, what documents we're reading and stuff, the style of the words, the terminology used. So when we're referring to the land, those are the original jurisdiction. We have American common law. That's the law of the land. And you hear a lot of people talk about, well, the Constitution is the law of the land. Actually, that's their law when they're on our land. So that's the way that's their contract. We created that. So does the creature dictate to the creator what's going to happen? That's the way it's working now, but that's not the intent of it. We created governments to secure our natural and unalienable rights. So,
Yeah, we're the creator, and that they made that pretty darn clear in the Declaration of Independence in the very first paragraph, when they said, you know, Jefferson, based on the laws of nature and of nature's God, we are the creators of our government. We create it, and then we, because we are the creators, we have the right, if we aren't happy with the way it's functioning, to alter or abolish it if it's not functioning properly. In fact, it goes on to say that it is our duty to alter or abolish it if it's not functioning the way we want it to function it as the people. So that's the distinction, and that's the meaning of those words, because that clearly put into place who has the power in the relationship between the people and the government. Would you agree with that?
yes, that's a good way to put that. And we've always heard that our founders, they didn't receive their lives, and they didn't receive their fortunes, and they didn't receive their sacred honor. They gave it.
Mm-hmm.
They gave their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor for our freedoms. Mm-hmm. And it's our duty to support that. And because I look at the honor, commitment, and courage as some of the values, and they displayed that and did that for us and future generations. And it's up to us to reestablish that and restore. And when I say restore, I mean repopulate that right. Government.
Right.
That's what's missing. Americans is what's missing in our government.
Right. And it's up to us. It's not like it went away. It's just that it was unpopulated. People got deceived by these corporations during the Civil War. We ended up after the Civil War with a couple of different corporations, one territorial, but pretty much controlled by the Vatican, one municipal, more controlled by the Crown, but also involved with the Vatican. And those corporations and others that they've created are really in charge now. And they're all fake in that we were never told any of this. We were never told that at our birth that they were going to use our birth certificate to put us into bondage and create this fake name that is our name all in caps on our birth certificate, which really isn't us. That is a corporation that they created, a corporate us, a corporate like mirror of us that they actually make money off of, right? And,
right. And that's securitizing living flesh.
Right.
And that's slavery.
Right. Right. And that's all under the corporation. It's all under the corporate United States. So, you know, there's so many facets to this. It's kind of hard for somebody that may be hearing this for the first time to grasp it. But the basic, I think if I was going to just kind of make it simple, is all of these corporations and entities are designed to enslave us. It's all done, it's all fraudulent. And where we want to be is we want to be back in the land jurisdiction. To get to the land jurisdiction, which is where common law is, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And I'll ask Ralph to talk about that more. To get back to that land jurisdiction where we are sovereign and we're under common law, we have to take the steps to extradite ourselves from these corporations. and that they've put us into at birth with the birth certificate fraud. And that's something that the assemblies, like what Ralph is director of here in Florida, have done a phenomenal job, because you now have what, about a half a dozen recorders? We call them actually recorders, and they help you with the paperwork. And they actually have you go through the paperwork. They have their own notaries now, their own recorders, so you don't have to go out and get anything notarized. And you can take the steps to do the different paperwork to put yourself outside of US citizenship and become back to a citizen of the state that you were born in. And I've gone through that myself. I'm going to leave in just a minute and go get my card to show you. And now we have ID cards that show our status. And this process is just an ongoing process that's getting more and more refined and stronger every week. And it's happening all over the country. And there's millions of people doing this. So it's very exciting. And I think it's the way for us, Ralph, and we've talked about this, to peacefully separate ourselves from these phony corporations that are enslaving us and peacefully rebuild the original republic, and just have everybody do this paperwork and start to build our assemblies, build our grand juries, build our militias, and all the different functioning entities that we need to function as free human beings, and not as slaves and citizen slaves of these corporations.
Yes, and that's what we call the four main pillars, is what we're repopulating on the state. We have the General Assembly, and that's all American nationals and Florida citizens that become part of that. The executive branch, they're kind of the section that handles the business functions. Then we have the General Assembly, which will do the American common law and help maintain the peace and prevent trespass. And then we have the militia. So it's a well-regulated militia on our land and soil to help enforce the American common law. That's the four main pillars that we're populating now with actual, real American nationals.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what when you go through your paperwork, then you become what's called an American state national. And you are no longer a US citizen, which is essentially a slave to the corporations that you probably didn't even know existed if you're new to this. So,
right. And on the back of it, the credential card can be scanned, and it will link to your paperwork. So there's no question about whether or not you're a US citizen or citizen of the United States. That identifies you as an American national. And it's really important. And that's where a lot of confusion occurs. And that's part of our message, is to get it out into a lot of law enforcement people that they have been, I wouldn't say brainwashed, but they've been conditioned to respond to people who are calling themselves, I'm a sovereign citizen and I have constitutional rights. And there's nothing, if you can't be a sovereign and a citizen at the same time. You're one or the other. And then as an American, you don't have constitutional rights. So actually, they have it backwards, and of what they're trying to say. They want to be an American, and they're probably proud of that heritage. So I'd say, if you're proud to be an American, why don't you just become one? It's real easy. It's a simple process. A one-page declaration based on 1799, and then we do what we call 2 witness testimonies, 2 people that's known you for a long time. And then we have a copy of the birth certificate. And that's basically evidence of the fraud that occurred on you, because you can even look at that and look at who the informant was. And we all know what informants do. And that's part of it. And we're exposing a lot of these truths that are out there, because we base our facts on evidence. If we use the evidence to create the facts, you don't create a fact and then go back and produce the evidence. We use the evidence, we create the fact. It's cause and effect.
Right.
And that's where we have to do and unbind what was bound. So one phrase you'll hear a lot of Americans talk about: as a thing is bound, so it is unbound. And that's what we're doing. We're unraveling this tangled weave that's been wrapped around us and entrapped us, and kind of like put us in captivity. So we're learning how to get out of captivity and become free men and women on the land and soil.
Yeah.
And sons and daughters, really.
And one of the key things that they've used to create that web that you're talking about is legalese. And that's one of the things that the bar attorneys do. And the bar is part of the British Crown. People who become members of the bar take an oath of allegiance to the British Accreditation Registry, which is, not ruled by us, ruled by a foreign entity. And so when you enter into the courts in this country, you're not entering into a court that's under the jurisdiction of our original Constitution. You're entering into a court that's controlled by a corporation, and they're acting under British or Admiralty law. So you're in the law of the sea. When you walk into that courtroom, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ralph, but when you walk into the courtroom and you enter onto through that gate and you go up on that platform, you're actually on the prow of a ship, and you're at sea, and you're under the Admiralty law, which is the statutes and mandates and all these things that have nothing to do with the common law, the law of the land. And they've got you unless you really know what you're doing. And to know what you're doing, there are people that actually can go into a courtroom and know how to create their standing and know how to be in the land jurisdiction in their courts. But you really have to know the words and the processes that they use to trap you. And they're excellent at it. The judges and the lawyers know exactly what they're doing. But it just so happens, I want to mention, this is a good time to mention it. Probably the one individual in this country that knows more about what I'm talking about right now, how to deal with the courts, how to go into a court and get the right kind of judgment that you want to get, and put yourself in the right standing and the right jurisdiction, is a guy by the name of David Straight. And David Straight is going to be here in Florida on June 25th, 26th, and 27th in Sarasota for 3 days, 3 12-hour days, 9 in the morning till 9 at night, giving one of his amazing workshops where he teaches this knowledge. And everything that Ralph and I are trying to get across to you, you would understand in a very, very deep way if you attend that 36-hour meeting, June 25th, 26th, and 27th. Ralph, do you have the brochure that you made that we can actually show them so that they can see?
Yes, I could, if I can screen share.
Okay, I'll put you on screen share.
Yes, and one thing about David Straight, he can really take the puzzle that we had before us. So we're looking at a 10,000 piece puzzle.
Right.
It's overwhelming when we look at it for the first time, and difficult to understand and set it up, the borders and everything. So what we've done, we the way David teaches, he breaks it down into a kind of like a beginner's puzzle. That way we can understand. So we can see the puzzle, we can see the box on it, the way it's supposed to look like. And he has a way of explaining it. It's so easy to understand. It's incredible.
I just made you the host. So if you want to use show them the great poster you made for this event. We really want people to come to this. And it's pretty hard to get David straight to do these things because he's in such demand all over the country. So we're very, very fortunate to have him here in June. So we're excited. We just got this all set up at a really nice golf course in Sarasota. Very nice rooms. We're including meals, so you don't have to go anywhere. You have to get your own hotel room, but you come, you probably want to get in there Thursday night at a hotel room. You have to stay Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at a hotel. But when you come to the golf course, the beautiful meeting room we have there, all the food, the 3 meals a day will be brought in. That's included in the price of the event. And we kept it just as low as we could so that everybody can afford to do it. And I can't remember the exact prices, but it'll be on the brochure once Ralph brings it up here.
I thought I did, but
Okay.
it didn't happen.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. You got it.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Good.
All right. So it's the Meadows Country Club on Long Meadow in Sarasota, Florida. It's January 20th or June 25th, 26th, and 27th. There's a picture of David there, an amazing man. And I think the price, yes, the price is $149 for all 3 days, including meals. That's if you get in early before June 1st.
And I made this before I had a finalized price. So we're going to have to finalize that. I don't know if that was correct or not when I made.
That's fine. I think that's what we agreed to, Ralph. That's fine. And then after June 1st, it's $200. So we really want people to get their reservations in early in May here. So we'll be getting this out to everybody, but you can write that information down there. And then there's a website. Oh, do you have the website there?
I need to put the link in it because this was like.
Okay, that was before. This is an early
rough. Yeah,
okay.
This was a rough draft.
Right.
Of the brochure.
Yeah. Ralph, why don't you give everybody your email so they can contact you about this and everything else, the joining the Assembly of States and all that.
So my email is Florida, the number 4, freedom, Florida for freedom at protonmail.com. And we have weekly meetings every Thursday at 7 p.m. And I'm not sure if it's screen sharing my desktop or what, but I have it pulled up.
Yeah, you could probably do that. I mean, we're seeing your screen right now.
Okay.
I made you the host.
Yeah, I'm used to using free conference call.
Okay.
But, so you might have to see this one here. We all have our weekly meeting, Florida Assembly meeting on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Right.
When I first started doing the assembly meetings, I didn't realize Florida had 2 time zones, even though I lived in Pensacola for 4 years.
You forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm from Indiana. We had the same thing. I forget all the time. Um, so, so can people come to our meetings just to see what we're doing?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Right now, they're open meetings, and we welcome everyone who's interested in it to attend. And we usually do a mini series about how to live like an American, because this hadn't been done in 160 years. We really don't know how to live like an American, because nobody's done that for such a long time. And that's what we're getting more information, understanding what the paperwork does, and understand the unlawful conversion that took place, and how our courts were manipulated. Because you were talking about the court, their admiralty, but they've also overlapped it into the municipal court also, so that you really don't know what court you're walking into. Is this an admiralty court? Or is this a municipal court? We don't know. And they're not going to tell you, because until you ask, and there's nothing wrong with asking questions.
Right.
And
yeah.
pretty important.
Yeah. Well, what we need is more people who can do what David Straight does. And let me just give you an example of what this man has done. Probably everybody that's listening to this call knows somebody who has almost lost or lost a child to, to child services. It happens all the time, and it's happening more all the time. And David has rescued well over 1,000 children. He goes in and represents parents who are about to lose a child or have lost a child, and gets them back if they're lost, or keeps them from losing them if they're in danger of losing them. And it's because he knows how to go in there and deal with the judge and deal with the attorneys and win. And it's very, very seldom, if ever, that he doesn't win, because he knows the law, and he knows how to operate in those courts. And when you start to understand what he understands, it's very empowering. It's very self-empowering. So, not only does he teach what we teach about being sovereign and the steps you need to take to become sovereign, he teaches that too. But he also teaches you how to deal with the courts, these municipal and territorial corporation-owned courts that we have operating in America today. And we'll also be creating our own courts, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's the goal of the Jural Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what David is a great resource, because we're training, we're equipping, and providing the people with the ability to challenge other trespasses that occur to them. And most people are afraid of the government, and you shouldn't be afraid of your government. That's not what it's about. They didn't found it that way. We created that government to secure our freedoms, our natural.
It's our servant.
Yes, they work for us. We're the employees. They work for us.
But you can't. It's so frustrating now that I know this, because I see people that were me 30 years ago saying, hey, that our government, this government, they can't do this to us. They're our servant. But they're not, because they're not that original government. They're a corporation government, a corporate government, and they fraudulently put you into a status where you are an employee of theirs, that you're their servant. And so you're in the wrong jurisdiction to make that statement. And you got to understand that and take yourself out of that jurisdiction, put yourself back in the land. Let's read this mission statement. This is really powerful. So our Florida Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of a complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system, serving the people of Florida, the preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law, the upholding of the federal Constitution owed to our state and people, the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction, the filling of vacated public offices, and the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. To these ends, we, the living people of Florida, are calling the eligible Florida nationals and electors to assemble and to serve as jurors and officers, and we are establishing the process and procedure to qualify jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our unincorporated powers and capacities. That's a beautiful statement. You guys did a great job on that, Ralph.
And that was approved in our General Assembly by an election.
Mhm.
That's one thing Americans do, we elect. We don't vote, we elect. And that mission statement was approved July 17th, 2019. And that was our first accomplishments.
Right.
Now, made several others, like the addition of the Northwest Territories. So all those were not part of the Union of States yet. That just happened really last year. All the states, eligible states that were eligible to elect and admit the Northwest Territory states into the states of the Union.
Yeah, there's so much great work going on in this assembly. And a lot of it, we have to thank Judge Anna von Reitz. She has been the kind of intellectual and moral leader of this movement, an extremely knowledgeable woman. And her website is, what is her website, Ralph?
The American States Assembly.net has a lot of valuable information of how to correct your political status. And Anna's is Anna von Ritz. Maybe pull it up.
Yeah, that's probably really good. I think it's actually R-E-I-T-Z. Is it R-E-I-T-Z-E, I think, is right. But it's Anna von Reitz and the Assembly of States. See if you can get that up. There you go.
Okay.
So that's Judge Anna. And so it's, yeah, just simple. Anna von Reitz, and it's not, there's no E on the end. ANNAVONREITZ.com.
Yes. And this is one thing that we talk about. There's over 3,000 articles that Anna has written, and there's so much information in there. It is amazing. It's like an encyclopedia.
Right.
And his historical value. If this was taught in school, we'd have no problem.
Yeah. Right.
That reminds me of what George Washington, one of his quotes, I have it right here in one of the Constitution books. The back of it says, a primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important, and what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberties of this country. And that was our very first president. And what happened to our school system? They used to be called civics. Now they call it social studies.
Right.
You're going to hear that word social pounded into people. It's even in the history books now. They describe America as a socialist organization.
Right.
And then you hear social media, social distance. And it's part of the pre-programming.
Yeah.
Socialism comes next. And then
Social justice.
yeah.
God.
Yeah, exactly. You see how they
Yeah, what an oxymoron.
Yeah. There's
And,
nothing
yeah,
social about distancing yourself because it's the cognitive dissonance that's occurring throughout so many people with
right.
just all the media and different narratives that has no actual evidence. It's
Right. So this is I think we've really given people a lot to think about here. The last thing I wanted to mention, Ralph, was the event coming up, the national event that Robert David Steele, Sasha Stone, Caroline Chang, and those guys are all putting together, is going to be an incredible event. And it's actually called a Rise USA Resurrection Tour. And you can find out more about it at this email or this website, bigbatusa.org. That's bigbatusa.org. And those folks have all just really learning about the American State Assembly. And they're big fans, and they're going to be talking about that. They're going to have speakers talking about that as well at their events. But they're going to go through 84 cities and locations around the country in all 50 states. It's called a Rise USA Resurrection Tour. Okay, Ralph just brought it up there. And that's something else that we wanted to bring to your attention. Because that'll be starting soon, and we want to support them and what they're doing. And like I said, they're supporting what we're doing as well. So that's the other thing. But please remember that event if you are in Florida here, because we're going to send this to people all over Florida today, because we want people to come to that event in Sarasota. That will be a life-changing event. Oh, there's the tour that they're doing.
yes, and it's starting soon, and they have the tour dates, so you'll know what city they're going to be making a stop at.
Mhm.
All these circles are tour stops,
Right,
so they'll be in at a county near you.
right.
So it gives a lot of people an opportunity to attend really informative.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of Florida stops there, as you guys can see. So they want to hit Florida hard. So that's gonna be great. All right. Well, listen, Ralph, this was amazing. Number one, folks, I would encourage you to get on one of our meetings, one of our weekly meetings with Ralph and the crew. We usually have 40, 50, 60 people on those calls. By the way, we have well over 500 people now as a member of our state assembly. We'll be creating grand juries soon. Status, all the different things that you will want to get involved in and help us build this from the bottom up. But remember, if you really want to restore your rights as an American, you have to be in the jurisdiction to do that. And you need to do your paperwork and get yourself out of that U.S. citizenship. Right, Ralph?
Yes, that's exactly, and that's what our purpose is, to peacefully help people come back to the land and soil so they can say, yeah, there was a mistake, and remove that presumption
Right.
that occurs in so many situations.
Oh, by the way, there's a couple of good advantages to this. You are no longer responsible for paying U.S. taxes. You're not eligible to pay the income tax. So
Right, and
and
if you
I know if that upsets you, then you can forget all about this. But also, you do not have to pay property taxes. You will have to go through a process to have your property changed to a land patent. But you will be able to do that when you become an American, and a state national. So,
and that's what the Declaration of Independence stated. There should be no taxation without consent.
that's right.
People said, okay, yeah, I agree. You can tax me.
Right.
And then that's why they created the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms. That was the original tax. That was it.
Yeah.
To support our military, to secure our natural and unalienable rights.
That's right. Well, Ralph, fantastic job. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for listening to us. I hope you got a lot out of this. For some of you, maybe the first time you're hearing this knowledge, but what we try to give you as much information here as you can. You can call Ralph. You can call me too, anytime. I'm simple. I'm easy to get a hold of. ClydeJCleveland@gmail.com. And I'm more than happy to answer questions and everything. But I think getting on one of those meetings with the Assembly of States is a really good idea, first step. So thanks everyone for coming on. Ralph, thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you, Clyde. It's a great opportunity to be here with you.